Hello and welcome back to LJT MTG, your one-stop shop for anything Yellow Jacket 2025 year-end related. I've got a fun video for you today, and I do believe that. Uh, I decided that since I know that I'm going to be making the 2025 year-end tournament for Yellow Jacket, I want to go through what my testing process is going to look like with all of you. Um, I think this could be valuable for a lot of reasons. I think it'll be valuable for you if you're going to a tournament and you are thinking about testing for that tournament, especially if you're looking at testing for smaller size tournaments where you can have a reasonable expectation of what the metagame is going to look like. It also might just be useful for testing for larger scale tournaments. And I thought people might enjoy an insight into like what does the testing process for what is one of the bigger year-end Highlander tournaments in the scene look like, and look, what does that look like from the perspective of someone who has been doing relatively well over the course of the last year at Yellow Jacket. So I'm really excited to get into it. I also think this is just going to be good for me. I really like to question my methodologies and the way that I'm going about things. Generally speaking, I feel like the way I go about things is pretty good, but that historically has proven to not always be the case. So I think it'll be interesting to hear from people how they test for tournaments, or what they think is valuable, or if they think that I've missed something that could be really, really valuable for my own testing. So with that in mind, if you have any advice for testing for larger tournaments, or you just want to talk about what you feel like testing for tournaments looks like, or even testing for events that are maybe just your local weekly event, like maybe you want to test out a new archetype and you want to make sure that you have the reps in to play it on, say, a Monday night, then leave a comment down below. We love chatting in the comments with people, and I'd love to get some insights from the community at large. And then if you like the content we're bringing, feel free to give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff like this. I am planning on doing periodic update videos about how my testing process is going, when and if things change with, say, like the points list, what that looks like in terms of my overall evaluations of like what decks I might want to play, etc. So I'm really excited to start this journey with everyone, and showcase what it's going to look like, and then maybe we could do a recap after the tournament to see how I did and whether or not my testing influenced that in the actual gameplay during the tournament. So without further ado, let's get into it. So how am I going to prepare for the 2025 year end? And I think this is a pretty interesting question because for me, generally speaking, I don't really prepare, or haven't prepared that hard for tournaments in the past. I have prepared for some tournaments, but when it comes to Highlander, generally speaking, I just fly by the seat of my pants. I really enjoy the format, but for the other year end that I made back when I was playing Craterhoof, I didn't really need to prepare for that. I knew the deck that I was playing. I knew what I would be up against. And I mean, I even went so far as to post a picture of my entire deck list weeks before I was actually playing in the event, and not changing a single card. So everyone knew exactly what I was on, which wasn't actually the case for some of the year ends. We didn't really require deck lists, or at least like your opponent didn't have your deck list going into it. So I haven't really prepared for this type of Highlander event before. So let's take a look at where I'm sitting in terms of the standings, and then I'm going to get into like what my thoughts are in terms of how I feel like I'm going to prepare for this event and what that's going to look like. So this is the current Yellow Jacket Monday Night Highlander leaderboard. I'm in first place right now with 9 qualifier points. And for those who don't know, the Yellow Jacket Monday Night Highlander year-end tournament is a invite tournament where if you acquire qualifying points on Monday nights throughout the 52 weeks of the year, uh, the top 8 of those, the top 8 people who have acquired those qualifying points get to play in a tournament to win essentially the year-end tournament, and you get crowned like the Highlander champion of 2025. It's really cool. It's a really fun event. We do it for no prizes or anything. At least we've done some prizes historically, but it's honestly mostly for the glory. Uh, Victoria being the birthplace of Highlander, the glory of winning one of the year ends is really, really cool and something that we all really strive for. So this year I've been doing particularly well. I have 9 points. The second place person has 7. The third place has 5. And then 4th through 7th place have 4. 8 and 9th have 3 points. And then there's a slew of 1-pointers from 10th to 16th place. So right now, when I'm looking at my position in the leaderboard and assessing what the tournament's going to look like for me, as long as I keep playing this year, and if second place doesn't usurp my position, which they would need, I believe, 3 wins to do, it might be 2, depending on if I have better tiebreakers, then I'm either going to be first or second, most likely. It's very unlikely that I would be third. And that means that I'm going to get to play in most of, if not all of my matches for the year end. And that could impact my deck choice, although I don't know if it necessarily is going to. It'll just be something that'll be really nice going through the actual top 8. This also means that since I know that I have a secured place in the top 8, when I'm testing, I actually get to test at Monday nights with potentially different archetypes that I haven't played before, or archetypes that I'm like a little bit familiar with but not super familiar with. And that's a luxury that I have that people in 4th and 7th place don't necessarily have. Like it's very easy to theorize that the people in 8th and 9th place could each get a point, and then at that stage the 4th through 9th place people will actually be trying to get that 5th point to really secure their spot in the top 8. I have the luxury of not having to worry about that, so that means that I get to test decks on Monday nights if I would like. It also means that with the 2nd and the 3rd place, I actually know that those people are going to be making the top 8. I believe it is literally impossible for them not to make the top 8 at this stage, and so I can currently, with my analysis of what the top 8 metagame is going to look like, I can definitely hammer in those 2 people. And then from the 4th to 9th place people, I can construct like a most common, more likely metagame analysis from like those placements. So that'll obviously be something that will come to fruition as the end of the season happens. We will know for sure what the top 8 looks like, and generally speaking, we know what the top 8 looks like for at minimum a month, but generally speaking about a month and a half to 2 months before the actual tournament takes place. So I'll have a better snapshot of what the metagame could or might look like then. But it's still valuable to think about it from this perspective. Like, I know the person in 2nd place, for example, has a pretty reasonable range. They have historically done well with both Boros Taxes and Flash Hulk. They've also played Omniscience, Artifact combo, Artifact aggro, like Battle Bots, etc. So they have a pretty wide range, but I think I'm going to look and see what they've done well with, which is mostly Boros and Flash Hulk, and probably lean towards thinking they're on those decks. And then in 3rd place, we have someone who in Victoria generally plays token strategies or graveyard-based, like more aggressively slanted strategies. They do have a couple of wins in the previous year with green-black aggro or mono-black aggro as well. So those are things that could potentially come up. So I'll definitely be keeping that in mind. In the top 8, we'll probably have someone who's a goblins-only player, so that'll definitely influence like what I'm thinking about in terms of the archetypes that I'm going to pick, etc., and how the metagame shapes out. But let's move on to So what have I been playing? So I've won 4 of my qualifying points with Jeskai mid-range slash control. So um, it's just a if you don't know about Jeskai, maybe I'll link my um, Jeskai situation is crazy video below. But we've talked a lot about Jeskai, and I'm really comfortable on the archetype. I have 4 wins with it, but I actually have 7 finals appearances with it. It might be 8. I'm not exactly sure. So I'm really comfortable with Jeskai, and if things don't change, I would say that I'm relatively likely to like try to convince myself to sleeve up Jeskai for the tournament. Even if people know that that's something that I'm likely to do, I think the deck is just strong in general. I think it's a little hard to hate on it unless you're going full tilt and actually switching to an archetype that I think has a really positive win rate against Jeskai, say something like Scape Shift, or combo decks like Flash Hulk, which is the next deck that I've been playing and winning with. I have 2 wins with Flash Hulk, and I believe I have a finals appearance or maybe a 3-1. I think Flash Hulk is really good. The play patterns make a lot of sense to me. I think it might be the right choice depending on what the metagame looks like. If I expect the metagame to be one other combo deck, some sort of token strategy, goblins, and a couple of other mid-range decks, then I might just end up playing Flash Hulk, because I think like that spread might be better suited for a combo deck. But if things like, say, Spellseeker gets pointed, if that is something that the council feels like they want to do, then those things could weaken Flash Hulk or Jeskai enough for me to want to move over to something like, say, Rakdos, which I have a win with, or Esper midrange, or Scape Shift. And those are decks that I might pick depending on the meta as well. Like if I think the meta is going to be more controlling, like a bunch of Jeskai, or Jeskai and like a couple of creature decks, I might just play Scape Shift because it has a really good matchup into other mid-range and control decks, and I've really liked it. Rakdos midrange, I might end up playing if I feel like I need a deck that can slant a little bit more aggressively, and has a little more game against combo, especially if I wanted to tech it to have a little bit more game against combo. So I really don't know what I'm going to be playing. It might not even be any of these 5 archetypes. In my testing, I'll definitely want to be testing things like Citadel Storm, Lotus Breach. I'll probably want to be testing other mid-range decks, things like Jund, green-black midrange, etc. But that leads me into my next slide, which is so what's my current rough plan? So the first thing I want to do is I want to talk with Jer and Liam, and I want it to be in really specific ways. So I want to discuss with them and come up with a suite of decks that I'm both comfortable playing and we also consider to be relatively powerful. So let's say, for example, I'm really comfortable playing Craterhoof Behemoth. I think I might have the most games of Craterhoof Behemoth of anyone on the planet. I've played it so much. But do I think it's powerful? Well, that would depend on the expected metagame. If the metagame is just a bunch of mid-range decks that don't really play counterspells, then Craterhoof is something that I might actually look into. So I want to talk to Liam and Jer and really get an idea of, okay, what do I feel like I'm strong with? Come up with a suite of decks that we already know I'm comfortable playing. But then I also want to look at decks that I'm not necessarily comfortable playing, but we feel like I could get to that point and potentially test those decks as well. And then I want to look at a potential range of decks that could be in the top 8 and start to create a list of people / decks that will 100% be in the top 8. So there's a 4-pointer currently who always plays goblins. And so if I know that they're going to be in the top 8, let's say they get their 5th point, then I might as well just add it to the list. Because I know that there's going to be a goblins in the top 8. And the longer I have to process what the metagame is going to look like, or at least what it could potentially look like, I feel like the better my analysis of what I should play to attack that specific metagame will be. And then I want to take the suite of decks that I'm comfortable playing and test those matchups with Jer, Liam, or anyone else who's proficient in that other archetype. Uh, so last year for the year end, Counselor Spencer, him and I actually played a lot of. He ended up playing four color Nadu in that event, and he thought that Chris was going to be on Jeskai. And so I built a Jeskai deck that was closer to a Chris list, and him and I played that matchup a lot so that he could have an idea of what that was going to look like. And the reason I mentioned that I want someone who's proficient in that archetype is because people who are, especially in Highlander, 100 card singleton, people who are proficient in their archetypes are just in leagues of their own when it comes to deck knowledge, and the way that they play games can be totally different than the way that someone might play the game if they aren't actually that familiar with the archetype. So let's say, for example, I wanted to test against Rakdos midrange. I would want to test against Jer. Not that Liam couldn't play Rakdos midrange to like a really reasonable high level, but Jer has been working on and playing the archetype for quite a while, and he's really comfortable with it, and his is the list that I use. So if I wanted to test a Jeskai against Rakdos, because I feel like one of the players or two of the players are going to be playing some sort of Rakdos or Jund midrange, then I'd probably point to Jer. Whereas if I feel like someone is going to play, some sort of like combo deck that is maybe more up Liam's alley, then I would ask Liam to test. And Jer and Liam don't necessarily cover the whole spectrum of decks that I could test against. So I might actually play with someone in person who I feel is like proficient in an archetype that might end up in the top 8. I also want to try to anticipate expected points changes and how that changes my deck evaluations. So I think the easiest way to talk about this is if they were to put Ancestral Recall at 10, I'm not playing Jeskai, right? And so where are the stress points for decks where they start to actually lose quite a lot of power? Recently, Merchant Scroll was pointed. And when it comes to Jeskai midrange, I think the deck is mostly the same. Like, Merchant Scroll did make the deck a little more powerful because you had more games where you had Ancestral Recall in the game, and that's like a really big deal. But generally speaking, the deck is pretty unchanged. But again, I come back to if Ancestral Recall goes up to 9 points or 10 points, like at that stage, is the delta between how good Recall is and how many other points you could use on other things, does that change the way that I see those archetypes and whether or not they're even like that powerful? Because I did mention how comfortable I am playing, and I sort of overlooked the decks. Also, I really want to be playing what I feel like is the best powerful deck for that specific metagame. So I'll be talking to Jer and Liam, and I'm going to be following closely the discussion on like what do we feel actually is like a potential points change that could or should happen. The nice thing is Jer, Liam, and I already talk about this all of the time, so hopefully any points changes that happen won't really catch me by surprise, but you never know. And then, like I said earlier, because I have 9 points and I know I'm going to be making the year-end tournament, I want to test my decks in local Monday Night Highlander. This is for a couple of reasons. I really want to ensure that my muscle memory is good. I value playing Highlander at a pace that is conducive with trying to finish a round in 50 minutes. And these days that can be really hard, especially with the addition of surveil lands. Oftentimes, I found in Jeskai, for example, I said that I made the finals an extra 3 or 4 times other than my wins. And at least 3 of those finals, we ended up drawing in the final round. And I don't think that's because any of us were playing particularly slowly, but saving your fetch land to get a surveil land at the end of your opponent's turn, it just takes so long. Especially if you do it, draw a card, play fetch land, pass again, and then you do it again on your opponent's turn. It just takes a while. So I want to ensure that my muscle memory is good. And also, I found that if my muscle memory is good, that leaves me space to think about my plays when I'm actually playing the game. I don't need to think that hard about like where I'm gonna be putting my lands or oh, I'm casting the difference between casting a brain surge and a brainstorm and what that feels like, um, etc. I just think it's really important, and I think this one, even not for a specific metagame, but just for tournaments in general. If you're going to like, let's say you're going to your first Highlander tournament, I would strongly recommend at least goldfishing your archetype. So that you can get used to both the size of the 100 card deck and having to shuffle like constantly depending on your archetype, and also like what are the common play patterns, what do they feel like, um, and then the last reason is I might not get reps against specific archetypes that are going to be in the top 8, but getting reps against specific cards and strategies can be just as valuable. So the examples I have here are aggro and opposition agents. So let's say, for example, I go to Monday night and I play against a Red Deck Wins player, a Boros Taxes player, and a Goblins player. Now, like, I might not see Boros Taxes or Goblins or like those types of other aggro decks in the top 8, but maybe I do. Maybe there ends up being a Red Deck Wins and a Goblins, and even though there wasn't a Boros Taxes, I still got used to playing against those strategies and that like particular game speed that aggro brings to the table. And the same is true with specific card types, things like Opposition Agent or Hull Breacher, card types that really punish you for playing in specific ways. I find it really, really valuable to get a lot of play experience against those cards, because then you will start to understand the ebbs and flows of a game, where those cards are in play and when they exist or when you should push against them versus not. Like, if I play Flash Hulk, should I cast my Grim Tutor into their 3 open mana? And the only way I'll be able to answer that question to the best of my ability, based on the limited information that I'll have at the time, is to have been in situations like that before, so that I can call on those situations and decide whether or not the risk is worth it. An example I'll give for this is I actually won one of my qualifying points with Jeskai against Counselor Spencer earlier in the year, and there was a moment where he had 2 lands in play and a Sylvan Caryatid untapped, and played a Surveil land, surveilled something in the graveyard. It didn't matter. And I had, I was on the play, so I had 2 lands tapped for doing whatever, and a fetch land, and I'm playing Jeskai, and it's the end of his turn. And I thought about cracking my fetch land and getting a Surveil land, but because I had played a lot against Spencer for that previous top 8, I remembered that Opposition Agent was a card that I had to consider, and that allowed me to look at the game state, look at what I had in my hand, how much value the Surveil was bringing to the table in relationship to sculpting my future draws, and whether or not that I felt like that was an important piece of that game or not, or how important like actually getting access to this land was going to be. And ultimately, I had actually picked up my fetch land to go fetch it, but then I stopped myself and I thought about it, looked at my hand, and decided not to crack it. So then I untap, play my 3rd land. I had a mana leak in hand, and I go to fetch, and Spencer plays Opposition Agent, and then I'm able to mana leak it, and I'm able to get my 4th land, and that lets me hold up like a counter spell to counter his future play, and then I start being really far ahead, because we're in the stage of the game where my deck is operating on a clip that's hard for him to deal with. So I think these types of reps very specifically are really, really valuable, and they get you into situations where, like, if another situation like that comes up, you might just stop yourself long enough to think about it and actually try to make what you feel like is the correct move. So this is my current rough plan for testing for the top eight. But I'm really interested to know, what do you think I should play? I would say currently I'm leaning towards Jeskai. Uh, I am really, really confident with the deck. I'm really comfortable with it. I like a deck um, um, that lets me have a lot of choices in a game. I feel like my player skill expression is really high in like a deck like Jeskai, where you have a lot of really like minute small choices. Also, I like technically play Jeskai suboptimally when I'm playing it on Monday nights, because I have to finish the game uh, in 50 minutes, and I am playing at a pretty reasonable clip, like relatively fast. But again, like the mechanics of the game, 100 card singleton, fetching surveil lands, that can be really challenging under a clock. Whereas the top eight tournament is untimed, and so not that I'll necessarily be playing slower or anything, but I might not be playing at such a breakneck speed. I might actually get a little more time to think about the things that I want to do, instead of just like jamming or deciding on a plan and sticking to it. So I think there's like a lot of room for me to have strong player expression. But depending on the field, if the field is somewhat soft to combo, then I might end up playing combo. I'm not really sure, and that's kind of why I want to talk to Jer and Liam. And when we have those dialogues, we might record it for the channel, we might not. Um, I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like, but I hope to bring you along for the experience, and I hope this is valuable for some people. So, um, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I would love to chat to people about how they prepare for tournaments, etc. Um, and what that looks like. Or I'd love to hear like what you think I should play, just in general. What do you think is really good in the metagame right now, or based on um, like a smaller size tournament, what would you play in different spots? I'd really just love to have dialogue there. So, um, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace.